Hi, this is a video lecture related to communication competence, section 1.5 in your textbook. So there are 6 aspects to communication competence. First, what is the competence? I think we understand the term competent. It means you're pretty good at something, right? If you're competent. If I'm a competent student, it doesn't mean I'm necessarily getting an A, but I'm pretty good at it. Okay, I do okay. I do well enough. I do well. So communication competence, I love the term that is used in your book, or the very simple definition. It says, in short, communication competence includes knowing how communication works and how to best achieve your purposes by adjusting your messages according to the context. So layman's terms, I know ideas, theories, concepts about communication. I know the important skills that are involved in communication, and I can analyze the situation, put my knowledge and my skills, and make the communication encounter engage it to the best outcome. Okay? All right, so let's start with thinking critically and mindfully. First, to think critically has to do with that analytical aspect, right? And so that analyzing what's going on. And also mindfulness means that an awareness. So I know it, but I'm also mindful. And I'm going to go ahead and come forward with that. Okay, so that if I am thinking critically, I am able to kind of expand my categories. The brain tends to observe things, take things in, and put them in categories of things we think we already know, we've already experienced. If we're open-minded, we can also expand those categories. So not every middle-aged white woman is going to be identical, right? Not every 18-year-old African-American female is going to be the same. I need to expand my categories. Not every 25-year-old Asian American male is going to be the same. So it's important to expand those categories. Being open to new information and not relying too much on first impressions. Maybe you've had the situation happen where someone talks to you, someone who's known you for a little while, and they say, you know, when I first met you, I thought, but now I think, right? So when that happens, I'm always like, what was I doing the first time I met this person that made them feel that way about me, right? All right, let me go forward. Okay, choice points. So at any point in a communication interaction, including whether or not to engage in the communication interaction, you have a choice to make. I have a choice on how much to engage, how much to talk, listening, my body language. I always have choices to make. I have a choice whether to react by giving statements or react by asking questions. Okay? So we always have choices that we can make in communication. Okay? All right, another one is it being an effective code switcher. What does it mean to be a code switcher? We can use more than one language in a conversation. That doesn't mean I have to be bilingual, although bilingualism is a really good example of that. I meet lots and lots of students who come from bilingual homes, and they go home and speak, they come to school and we speak in English, they learn in English, and then they go home and then speak a completely different language with their grandparents. So it's very fascinating. Where the language, the body language, it's all very different. So another type, though, is even within the English language, there are different languages within the English language. So am I using regionalisms? Am I using slang? Okay, so am I using a dialect that is, I always talk about the difference between something that has come up in the past is like how someone from Baltimore and the language and the dialect that happens, let's just say someone in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And so they are dialects that are actually studied by people who study language because different words evolve, pronunciations evolve. It's all kind of interesting, I think. Okay, so also a competent communicator is culturally aware and sensitive. And sensitivity, I just really need to talk about that word a little bit. A common reaction that I read on boards or I hear in class is that people are just too sensitive. And that's kind of, to me, an interesting thing to think about. I always like to use that principle of universality. If I were to reverse it and someone used language that I didn't like to describe me or to describe my behavior, would that be okay? Would I just be too sensitive? So when we talk about sensitivity, it has more to do with that mindfulness and awareness. So the elements of culture then are values, beliefs, artifacts, and behavior. So the term artifacts refers to the things that I wear, what kind of bag do I carry, what kind of jewelry do I wear? Do I wear a scarf? Do I wear a kind of mask? What's my backpack like? Right? So those artifacts are things that about us that we use to help communicate something about us. Okay? And then, of course, I think we understand values and beliefs and behaviors. So ways of communicating also are going to be different. Is it a culture where people don't make eye contact? Is it a culture, I'm just trying to think of some Middle Eastern cultures where we here in the United States might cross our legs while we're sitting, right? Put one leg over the other. But if our foot is facing the person, the bottom of the foot, that's insulting. Okay, so just being aware of that, I might not sit in that position. Okay, so like I said, some places, no eye contact. I lived in Japan for quite some time, and it's a more hierarchical culture, and I would have students, they would not make eye contact with me. And it took a while for them to get comfortable with that. And also I had to learn to respect that and not demand it and enforce it, right? But get them more comfortable with how in the United States, we make eye contact to demonstrate respect. Another culture might not make eye contact, and that demonstrates respect. All right, and then of course gender differences as well. How genders are perceived. What are the roles of men and women in different cultures? Okay, let's see. Let me come on up. That communication is ethical, right? And I love these very simply phrased examples of ethical communication. That it's concerned with your actions, right? We always say it's watch what people do, not just what they say, right? So actions need to be ethical. Of course, in ethics, and we're going to get into communication ethics later, that it distinguishes right and wrong, right? How do we use statistics? How do we report out information? What are ethical means of persuasion? Okay, and ethics really does, it says it permeates all communication. It does, like whether we're talking about public speaking, small group communication. When we talk about conflict later and how to manage conflict, ethics is a big part of that. Okay, so in review, communication competence is your knowledge of how communication works and your ability to use communication effectively. So communication competence includes thinking critically and mindfully, making reasoned choices, effective code switching, being culturally aware, and communicating ethically.